I'm back. So how does performance management have to do with HR reporting? Well, HR reporting is the basic tool that we are going to have at our disposal in order to use for workforce performance management. HR reporting is basically all those key data that is collected around HR efforts. And all of this data is harnessed in order to improve and influence the business's strategy and contribute to the business's results. So the aims of HR reporting are to measure the effectiveness of the HR efforts and how it impacts the business, to evaluate the process of and efficiency of HR, which will establish and identify the HR efforts of improvement, and to help in the decision-making process for HR, which helps in us being able to decide who those critical people and organizational interventions are that will impact the business in a positive way. So terms and definitions that we need to understand when we talk about HR reporting. KPI, key performance indicator. I'm sure many of you have already been familiar with this term. Basically, a key performance indicator is it's a metric for us to see how performance can be measured. And this is not just related to HR, it's related to many other aspects of business, for example. And KPIs are usually used in an organization to be able to quickly and effectively measure the success or failure of a specific aspect. So we can see there are KPIs that are established for marketing. There are KPIs that are established for HR. There are KPIs established for sales, etc. Another term that we need to understand is performance targets, which I've already explained a little bit before. Basically, it's that for each metric or KPI, we have to specify a clear target that is defined annually with our department heads, which is based on data that we have historically, or complemented with future expectations. And this is done by analyzing past performance assessments and future challenges that can be posed. And targets can be percentages, numbers, scores, etc., depending on the type of KPI that is chosen. So what does HR reporting look to do? It looks to, bottom line, align the HR reporting efforts or the HR's efforts with the business plan. So basically we can see how the company's vision and mission is then put into the specific strategy and plans, the tactics. What is it that we're going to do and how are we going to use it? And in order for us to come up with the business strategy and plans, we create it based on our company's mission and vision, the external environment in which the company is operating, and the internal environment. This is the SWOT, which I think we have actually covered in class before. The SWOT, the strengths and weaknesses of our business and the threats and opportunities of the industry, or all of those external forces that can help us succeed or stop us from succeeding. So when we have formulated that business strategy, we need to formulate how we are going to measure. What are those metrics going to look like? So here, when we identify the business and organizations or business and people measures, we're going to see in this aspect, how big is HR's contribution here? What is it that we need to identify, and what is it that we need to measure as strategic HR managers? And this will help us to identify and create HR efficiency measures. What is it that we need to measure in order for us to see if we are doing our jobs well? How can we ensure that we are implementing everything correctly, that we are being efficient across all departments, etc.? So this is what will help us to understand, and this will help us to identify what we need to do better and how we can do it better. So the roadmap to HR reporting. Basically, it's a 4-step process, which is quite self-explanatory. The first step is that we are going to identify those critical HR measurements that we need to see in order for us to see if we are doing our job well. Then we're going to set targets for each KPI that we have established. We're going to then design the HR process reporting and tools. And then we're going to implement the actual reporting approach that we have decided upon. So the key in this roadmap is, of course, step one, which is to identify the critical HR measurements, the metrics, the KPIs. So the first thing that we need to do is be able to define the most important HR outcomes that will allow us to measure our efficiencies, effectiveness, competencies, etc. And what kind of competencies do we have to strive to have? We have to have a basic business understanding. We need to have conceptual thinking, and we need to also have analytical thinking. So what are we going to do? We're going to select a set of organization and people measures that will allow us to monitor the impact on the business outcomes. Excuse me. So then the second step within identifying the critical metrics will be to determine those HR performance measures that will help us to monitor the efficiency of the way that we deliver the HR service and the processes that we have for that. So more information about this important first step. What do we need to do? Well, the first thing we need to do is review the company's strategic plans, strategic goals, and discuss them with the heads of business to understand which elements are going to be related to our HR strategic plans. Like, for example, what are the priorities for our upcoming year? And where do the heads of business believe that the impact of HR will be crucial? Then we're going to review the strategic plan and objectives for HR management. And we're going to be able to determine how they actually link with the overall business plans. And to finish up, we're going to make a list of the top 5 critical HRM projects or activities that will be the ones to cause the most positive impact on the business strategy. So within the actual reporting roadmap, within this process, we actually have a number of tools available for us. So in step 1, when we identify our KPIs, we can see the list of the 5 KPIs that we have just seen in the previous slide. And then we're going to see progress and issue logs that we can also use. Then we're going to go to step 2. We're going to set targets for each defined HR KPI. So we're going to be able to create workshops, which will help to set targets for our people measures. And we're going to create workshops, which will help us to set targets for HR performance measures, which leads us to actually designing the HR reporting process and the tools. And here we have HRD reporting stakeholder analysis. We have our HR dashboard, which we took a look at last week. And we have our HR KPI progress and issue log, which will bring us to step 4, which is implementing the HR reporting approach. And there are no tools here because it will depend on what it is that you want to implement. So to finish off, what are the keys to success? How can we succeed in our performance management system? Well, the first thing we need to do is identify a clear, consistent, and compelling connection between our organization's goals and objectives and the work that each and every single employee does in the organization. Excuse me. Then we are going to identify the few critical measures, because we will come up with a list of KPIs that will be very long, that will be quite lengthy. But of those, we're going to see the ones that are the most important for us to see, which can have the greatest, most beneficial impact on the company's profits. And then, of course, we will need to document the effects of our HR efforts on the company's performance. And it has to be done in a way that employees, line management, top management, etc., can understand. And remember, less is more. The clearer we are and concise, the more concise we are, and the clearer we are in communicating our efforts, what it is we need to do, and implementing them correctly, the better chances we have of success. So for next session, I would like you to read from the two HR management textbooks that we have. I would like you to read chapter 11 in our strategic HR management textbook and chapters 3 and 11 in our HR management book. Have a great week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.